How are we all doing today? My name is Dave Gugino, and in today's book review, I've got a very different book. It's not really self-betterment, but it is a book about working out. Isn't that crazy? So as a powerlifter, I found this book on Facebook, oddly. This book, it really inspired me to want to read it and to want to learn, because out of my favorite lifts to do in the gym, this one was how to deal with certain techniques to get stronger and just advice on how to be smart when training for this particular lift. So this book is Bench Press, The Science by Josh Bryant. And for those of you who do not know about the fitness industry, it says on the front here, the most comprehensive book ever written on the bench press by Eddie Cohn. Ed Cohn is probably one of the best powerlifters to ever walk this earth. He's probably one of the best bench press coaches in the world, because he has coached very many world record holders. He has brought guys to a 600-pound bench, tons and tons of guys to 600-pound bench presses and over. And I really like what he has to say here about the bench press. So for those of you who are into working out or ready to learn something about pressing heavy weight, feel free to listen. And also feel free to add any comments or questions, or basically questions in the comments of what this meant and what that meant. And honestly, I'll probably be doing a second review of this book pretty soon, just because it's very different from what I've usually read, and just a very different look at bench pressing. Bench press is my best lift. I have a 380-pound bench press at 165 pounds. And it's just, I've been training for it for a while, and it's just a lift that I enjoy, and it's a lift I'm good at. But let's dive into the book here. So at the beginning, he has 5 bench strategies. And the 5 bench strategies that he has are very different. So listen to what he has to say here. Just listen to this. Before we dive into the rest of the book, I want to share 5 proven strategies that have helped my clients and myself develop unrivaled bench press prowess. Practice compensatory acceleration training, CAT. Lifting your sub-maximal weight with maximal force. By building explosive power in the bench press, you can blast through sticking points. Lifting the weight with the intention of being explosive will make the weight feel lighter. Need proof? Walk over to the dumbbell rack, pick up a 50-pound dumbbell quickly, and then lift it slowly. The weight will feel lighter when picked up quickly. You can intentionally lift a maximal weight slowly. Implement dead benches into your routine. A dead bench is done in a power rack. The weight starts at chest level and is pressed up as explosively as possible. You will not be able to lift as much weight this way because of the absence of elastic-like energy stored on the negative portion of the lift. Because of this, you will develop tremendous starting strength off of the chest. Do more sets with fewer reps when training for a 1-rep max. Let's compare 2 prospective workouts. In workout 1, you do 8 sets of 3 reps. Workout 2, you do 3 sets of 8 reps. In both workouts, you completed 24 repetitions. However, in workout 1, you had 8 first reps. In workout 2, you had only 3 first reps. Since you are training for 1-rep max, first reps are important. That is important, so think about that. Arms. Very few men with spaghetti arms bench press huge weights. Obviously, the triceps are crucial to lock the weight out and can be built through close grip bench board presses, various extensions, and a plethora of other exercises. However, the biceps help stabilize heavy weights, and strong forearms help you squeeze the bar tightly. This will make the weight feel lighter in your hand. The old 8-inch curls are for girls. Doesn't apply when it comes to moving heavy pig iron on movements such as bench press. Visualize your success. Your central nervous system, I like this one. Your central nervous system isn't adept in differentiating between a real experience and an imagined one. Set some time aside every day to visualize yourself blasting maximal weights. Go to the gym, load your goal weight on the bar, stare at it, and envision yourself lifting it. The more vivid the experience, the more real it is. When you eventually attempt the weight, you will only be going through the motions because you have done it over and over in your head. Of when keyboard strength coaches eschew the bench press, citing it as ineffective and lacking functionality. Usually their egos are clouding their judgment, the same egos that were, I'll read this last part, once humiliated when they were stapled on the bench press by a lightly loaded barbell when they began lifting. And keep in mind, those that are not good at something are generally the first to decry at it. So think about that. Keep in mind, those that are not good at something are generally the first to decry at it. Now, do I know what decry means? I do not. But, it actually took a long time to read. But visualize your success, work your arms, and I really like visualize your success. I really do like that one. Why? Because honestly, in life, you visualize your success. You visualize you doing something great. You visualize you starting that business and working really hard to make it function. And then not only that, you practice the compensatory acceleration training, pressing the weight off your chest quickly and just moving quickly, and then the dead bench is in your routine, as in that's just holding the bar. You have it right here, you hold it, and then someone racks it for you. And then, when that happens, you do the lift again regularly, and it should press off your chest faster. And then your first few reps, like I mentioned, and do more sets with fewer reps when training for a 1 rep max. Your first few reps are the ones that matter. Otherwise, the rest of it is just fatigue and you working the muscle. And working your arms, yes, I feel much better when I have, my arms have gotten significantly bigger, but I feel much better when my arms are like extended and they just feel big and pumped up. Because back when I was skinnier, the weight felt heavier. As your success, and remember, keep in mind, those that are not good at something are generally the first to decry at it. So think about that. The next part that I have in this book is similar, it's just a page after, but it is about performance enhancing herbs, also known as roids. Now, we will talk about performance enhancing drugs. So, listen to what he has to say here about roids. Listen to this. Think about how many times you have found out someone is taking steroids. Yet, your little brother can destroy them in the gym, on the field, or in a street fight. I can think of countless examples of people that prove the point that steroids don't make everyone a champion. I'm not a betting man, but I'd wager that the top drug-free powerlifters will outlift 99% of their juiced-up counterparts. Why am I saying this? The importance of an effective training program will trump an elaborate steroid cycle almost always. If you are on the juice, but train without intelligence, intensity, and guts, you will not set world records in a drug-free powerlifting meet. Olympic lifting. Strength is a product of neurofactors. How efficiently your CNS recruits the proper motor units, how much muscle mass you have. Steroids enhance muscle mass, but have not been conclusively, shown to enhance neurofactors in the same degree. Do steroids work? Absolutely. Was that the main reason Bill Marsh, the first American to use dianabol, made a majority of his gains? Probably. However, Marsh would not have set world records had he trained like a moron. Isometrics clearly played an important role. Listen to this. Are very demanding on the central nervous system. You are producing much larger force in isometric movements than in their dynamic counterparts, and are literally exerting maximal balls-out effort and force into the bar. This can and will place a tremendous strain on your CNS, central nervous system. Take home point, 1 glass of red wine a day can benefit your health. 5 bottles a day can destroy your health. Think of isometrics like red wine. The Valsalva maneuver is when a person tries to exhale forcibly with a close glottis, the windpipe, so that no air exists through their mouth or nose. The Valsalva maneuver impedes the return of venous blood to the heart. This causes a huge spike in blood pressure and greatly increases heart rate. A healthy person should return to resting levels quickly. If you have any type of cardiovascular issues, you are playing Russian roulette by using this technique. Even if you are healthy, you are taking a minor risk. Although the risk of driving to the gym is greater, I assume by reading this book you are after performance. Everything has a risk to benefit ratio, so be informed. Bench press specific isometrics are most effective when you use the Valsalva maneuver. Numerous studies have shown this technique allows athletes to produce greater forces, and this technique keeps the athlete tight and produces a more rigid torso. So also really think about that. Isometrics. An isometric is basically kind of what a dead, and let me rephrase earlier, a dead bench press is holding it just right here, like on bars or something, and it's just right here, and you hold it, and then you press it. And I refer to them as pin presses, but they are much harder, much harder to do. Now, isometrics are when you have the weight here and you're barely holding it above your chest and you're just squeezing and squeezing and then you press. Now, you might think, well, that's a pause. It is, but it's actually like you're holding the form, and that will allow you to have more speed off the chest. It will allow you to get used to the weight going down, and it is an intense exercise because you were just holding on the weight, making sure it doesn't drop on you. And your central nervous system, a lot of powerlifters don't realize that when it comes to powerlifting, it is all based on your neural factors. It is all based on your nervous system and your neurons and your muscles recruiting motor units to press that weight. Now, when it comes to bodybuilding and powerlifting are two different things. I don't care what anybody says, they are two different things. Bodybuilding, you're training for reps, it's all about your dieting, and it's all about making your muscles bigger and leaner. And powerlifting, you're just learning the movement. And the movement, if you want to move efficiently and correctly and strong, your central nervous system has to be healed and it has to be healthy. So, for a good example is, right now I'm 2 weeks out from a powerlifting meet. I'm squatting 3 times a week and benching 3 times a week. Now, I can do those days 3 days in a row, but your first day will be heavy, your second day will be kind of heavy, and your third day will just be doing a weight that's heavy for like 2 sets of 2. So, for example, I'm squatting right now 460, 470. On the third day, I would just be doing 415 or 420 for 2 sets of 2. Just to get used to the weight and just to get used to form. Now, you might think, your nervous system is going to be cooked. Well, it is. But that's why you're smart about your volume and basically what you do after the weight training. Basically what you do after the lift. So really think about that. Take care of your nervous system, the Valsalva maneuver, and basically, if you have any health problems or heart problems, be very careful on how you really because when you're doing an isometric, you're holding your breath, you're not really breathing as much, and you're squeezing, you're gritting your teeth together. So just really think about your other health issues when you powerlift. So think about now, for the third and final part of the book that we have here about the bench press, which I could talk about the bench press all day. There's always something to learn, there's always something you can do to make yourself stronger. It makes it better, and it's just, I think, in my opinion, it is such a good lift, and it's a dangerous lift, don't get me wrong, but I just really like the lift overall. But now we're talking about practical applications. This is how he ends it with most of his chapters in the book. Well, I say most. All of his chapters in the book, but we're talking about eccentric muscle actions, which eccentric is slow on the way down. Listen to what he has to say about eccentrics. Listen to this. Eccentric muscle actions are associated with increasing swelling and muscle damage, and greater amounts of delayed onset muscle soreness when compared to concentric muscle actions. If strength gains were similar in both groups, concentric actions would be superior because they use 40% less weight, and you could potentially perform them more frequently, something the study did not investigate. Another interesting note in this study is velocity of movement was controlled. Subjects were required to take 3 seconds on a concentric and 3 seconds on a negative. The primary objective of eccentric emphasis training is to draw out the eccentric. The primary objective of a dead movement, or concentric, only is to develop starting strength. This is done by moving the weight as explosively as possible from start to finish. A force-controlled concentric tempo will compromise the benefits of a dead movement. In spite of this error in design, concentric actions prove to yield greater gains. Imagine what happens when you do them right. Concentrics build starting strength. How quickly you can develop tension in a muscle. Acceleration strength, explosive strength, superior nerve adaptations with faster recovery and less muscle hypertrophy, an extremely important factor for a powerlifter looking to remain within a weight class. The bench press is a reversible muscle motion, meaning it has an eccentric and a concentric muscle. This is why most of your training should consist of reversible muscle action bench pressing. Concentric only dead benches play an important role in developing explosive power, even with a 1/3 reduction in weight used. They yielded superior results to negatives when not executed correctly. Just think of the results performing dead benches with maximum force as explosive as possible. So with dead benches and concentric and eccentric movements, what he's talking about here is dead movements as in the weight's just not moving. Because Like I said earlier, there is the pin press, but then there is another dead movement where you put the bar, you put 2 bars above your bench press bar, and you just press it with all the force you can. It's not going to go anywhere, but you press it, the force that you can, and then you stop, and then you throw some weight on, and it feels much easier because your nervous system is already requiring all those motor units to press the weight, even though the weight's not already there, if that makes sense. So you do the bar and the dead press first, then you throw some weight on, and the weight should move up faster. And the 3 seconds, take 3 seconds on a concentric and 3 seconds on a negative. That is a huge red flag because you do not need to do that. You do not need to go slow on the way down, slow on the way up. Because notice what he says here, eccentric muscle actions are associated with increased swelling and muscle damage, and greater amounts of delayed muscle onset soreness when compared to concentric muscle actions. So basically with eccentric and slow concentric, slow on the way up, slow on the way down for 3 seconds, you're doing more damage to your muscles and not actually learning how to be strong. Like you're not building any strength because you are requiring units, but you're just giving your muscles more fatigue because eventually your motor units are going to run out and it's just going to be straight fatigue, just straight burning and straight muscle damage, metabolic stress. So mechanical tension, metabolic stress, and muscle damage will be the key factors that you'll be achieving when going slow on the way down, slow on the way up. Wait for this book. I hope you all learned something small. I kind of mentioned a few exercises here and there, but honestly, the bench press is my favorite lift. It's the lift I'm best at, and the most I've ever done in competition was 335 on the bench press. And honestly, these certain movements and the way you train for the bench press is great. It's how you grow, and this is a very in-depth book of how to be strong, and it's also very easy now. You also probably wonder, do you need help, like a lift off or something? Probably, because he mentions stuff about bands, chains, pausing, I can't remember the terminology, but like, I think it's like a forced rep where like, you do weight that's too heavy, but it's just to feel it, or you just have it and you hold it right on the top, just like this, and you squeeze, and you just hold it. So there's many ways to be strong in the bench press, but the takeaway for this video is be strong today, physically and mentally. And that's kind of the only life lesson I have today. Visualize your success is a life lesson you've learned from this book. Be strong today, physically and mentally. I hope you all learned something. And for those of you that are powerlifters, I hope you are strong today, and I hope you have a great workout today. Thank you, and you all have a great day.